overseas, where President Trump is meeting with European leaders right now. He just met France's new president, but one of the toughest meetings may be with UK's Prime Minister Theresa May, amid reports the British are going to stop sharing intelligence with the U.S. after information about the Manchester bomber leaked through U.S. officials. Take a listen.
I will make clear to President Trump that intelligence that is shared between our law enforcement agencies must remain secure.
I want to go live to Brussels and NBC's Kristen Welker. Kristen, what is the White House saying about this? Because, to be clear, as far as information being leaked around the Manchester bombing, this isn't the president and the accusations around his sort of sloppy behavior. This is members of the intelligence community leaking to the press.
That's right, Steph, but it still adds to some of the mounting tensions here. A White House official tells me that they are working on a statement and a reaction to all of this, but it's already overshadowing some of the president's agenda. As you just pointed out, he was meeting with the newly elected president, and reporters asked him at the end of that meeting if he could weigh in on these new reports. He had no response, was silent. What he did focus on in that meeting was congratulating Macron for his victory, saying that he is prepared to work with him moving forward on a whole host of issues. A little bit of the backdrop, though, Steph. The NATO Secretary General, his agenda was to call for an increase in intelligence sharing. And going into this summit, there was a lot of skepticism about President Trump for that issue that you raised. The fact that he revealed intelligence that U.S. officials got from Israelis to Russian officials when he met with them recently in the Oval Office. So all of it adds to a very tricky diplomatic backdrop here. And, of course, the president has his own agenda. He wants to call on NATO countries to ramp up in the fight against ISIS and also to increase their spending in defense. They are supposed to be spending 2% of their GDP per country. Right now, only about 5 out of 28 NATO countries actually meet that benchmark. So those are the issues he wants to be focused on. Instead, today, he's going to be facing some tough questions and a tough conversation when he meets with the Prime Minister of the UK, Steph.
Thanks, Kristen. I want to bring in MSNBC terrorism analyst Malcolm Nance. Malcolm, what is your take on this? How big of a deal is it with regard to UK-U.S. relations, and is it just a counterterrorism issue?
It's not just a counterterrorism issue. This is a vote of no confidence in the administration being able to keep secrets. And as we've seen a lot of leaks, but the leaks that have been the most damaging have come out of the mouth of the President of the United States. This did not come out of the mouth of the President of the United States. It came out of the law enforcement officials at the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, perhaps, and was immediately leaked to the press, showing a great amount of detail.
Couldn't President Trump say to Theresa May, right on, I agree, I hate all the leaking? I mean, the people who leaked this, or the organization that did, President Trump's been going after for months.
Well, that's true. He could say that. But again, this appears to be a sort of a shot across the United States bow, that this starts, the buck ends at the president. And she's going to make it eminently clear that he's responsible for anything that's given to U.S. officials.
To Malcolm's point, this sort of get your house in order, President Trump on that phone call with the president of the Philippines saying, oh, by the way, we've got some nuclear subs just off the waters of Korea. He himself is doing it. So what needs to be done in terms of clean your house?
There has to be some. First off, we can't believe this administration when they say they're going to be careful. Like, we don't believe them when they need more people, and they're endangering all of our intelligence. There is no greater country to our concerns when fighting terrorism in Europe than England. We have to be able to trust them. If James Bond can't call the U.S., then clearly our special relationship is frayed. And this is bigger than just Trump saying to Theresa May, I'll be more responsible. This is about him getting the respect of the intelligence agencies that he's lost going forward, because I think part of the reason this happens is because he's been attacking these agencies, and they don't care how this looks for Donald Trump, and they don't care how it looks for the U.S.
But what does that say about the intelligence agencies then? This isn't a knock on President Trump. We saw the police chief in Manchester talk about how damaging this was and hurtful to those families. How does the intelligence community win doing something like this?
We have a different tradition of freedom of press here than they do in England. They want to tamp down and suppress this. We have a natural amount of leakage. A good thing. We should have discussions. We should see grisly pictures to remind us how awful this stuff is, to place this all on Trump. And I think the Philippines story, too, is a little bit, some of that information was publicized already. I think we're seeking patterns that aren't necessarily proven to be there completely.
All right, we're going to
Stephanie,
take a break.
if I could just make a
Malcolm,
point.
yes?
Oh, I was just going to say, these aren't leaking from the intelligence communities. They're leaking from law enforcement agencies,
Right.
and that's two entirely different things.
What's their motivation, though?
Oh, well, their motivation is just to get information out, and you know, they don't have the level of secrecy that we have in the intelligence community.
All right, we're going to take a break. Next.